Once upon a time, in a prosperous kingdom, there lived a king who ruled with wisdom and strength. Despite his many triumphs, his heart was burdened by a deep worry. His only daughter, a young princess of unparalleled beauty and virtue, had reached the age of marriage. Yet, no suitor seemed worthy of her hand. One day, the king's trusted advisor, Edward, came to visit him and noticed the lines of worry etched upon his face. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing respectfully, "you appear troubled. What concerns weigh so heavily upon you?" The king sighed deeply. "My daughter deserves a husband who matches her grace and worth, yet I have found none who are suitable." Edward smiled, his eyes gleaming with a knowing look. "Perhaps her horoscope might offer guidance," he suggested. "Allow me to examine it." The king agreed, and Edward studied the princess's horoscope with great care. As he read, his eyes widened in astonishment. "She is destined for greatness," he thought. "Whoever marries her will rise to unimaginable heights, a king will become an emperor, and an emperor will conquer the world." But as these thoughts took root, greed began to cloud Edward's mind. Why should anyone else gain such fortune? If I were to marry her, the power and glory would be mine. Feigning grave concern, Edward turned to the king and said, "Your Majesty, while her destiny shines brightly, there is a shadow of danger. Her marriage may bring great misfortune upon your family." The king's eyes widened in alarm. "What must I do to prevent this calamity?" he asked. Edward stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Place her in a grand chest filled with jewels," he advised, "and set it adrift in the river. Destiny will carry the chest to the man who is truly meant for her." Though the king's heart ached at the thought, he trusted Edward's wisdom and reluctantly agreed. When the princess learned of her father's decision, her heart broke, but she obeyed his command. She climbed into the chest, adorned with her finest garments, as tears rolled down her cheeks. "Where will this river take me?" she wondered, her heart heavy with sorrow. The chest floated silently beneath the moonlight, glinting with the reflections of the water as it was carried downstream by the current. Further along the river, a young prince was resting with his soldiers after a long day of hunting. As he washed his face in the cool water, he noticed something unusual. A large chest was drifting toward the riverbank. Intrigued, he called out to his men, "Bring that chest ashore." The soldiers waded into the water and dragged the heavy chest onto dry land. "What treasure might this hold?" one soldier murmured as they opened it. Their jaws dropped in amazement, for inside lay a radiant princess, her beauty undimmed despite her despair. The prince stepped forward, astonished. "Who are you, and how did you come to be here?" he asked gently. The princess recounted her story, her voice trembling. "My father feared that my destiny might bring ruin to our family, so he sent me away," she explained. The prince knelt before her, his heart moved. "If fate has brought me to you, I would be honored to fulfill the destiny that ties us together. Will you marry me?" Overcome with relief, the princess nodded, tears of joy filling her eyes. The prince slipped a golden ring onto her finger, and their union was sealed with love and respect. Meanwhile, Edward awaited the chest with growing anticipation. He had instructed his students, "When the chest arrives, bring it to my chamber and lock the door. No matter how much noise you hear, do not open it." When at last the chest was delivered, Edward's heart raced with excitement. Locking himself inside the room, he whispered, "My fortune lies within this chest." But as he flung open the lid, a deafening roar erupted. Instead of the princess, a ferocious bear leaped out. The prince, clever and cautious, had captured the bear during his hunt and placed it inside the chest as a decoy. The bear lunged at Edward, who screamed in terror. Outside, the students heard his cries but remembered his strict command, "Do not open the door, no matter what." Chaos reigned inside the room as Mahadev's greed led him to his doom. The tale serves as a timeless reminder: greed and dishonesty pave the way to ruin, while humility and courage lead to true happiness. Edward's selfish desire to exploit the princess's destiny blinded him to wisdom and decency, and his fate was sealed by his own deception. On the other hand, the prince's integrity and respect for destiny brought him both love and a promising future. This story reminds us to trust the path set before us, act with honor, and avoid the trap of greed. What is meant for us will come in its own time, often in the most unexpected ways. True greatness is achieved not through manipulation but through kindness, faith, and righteousness. The story concludes with a powerful lesson: the choices we make define the paths we walk. Driven by greed and deceit, sought to manipulate fate for his own gain, but his dishonesty led to his inevitable downfall. His tragic end serves as a warning that selfishness and betrayal bring destruction, not success. In contrast, the prince's humility, courage, and respect for destiny brought him love and a promising future. His willingness to honor the princess's fate without seeking to exploit it showcased the virtues of integrity and selflessness. Ultimately, the story reminds us that destiny cannot be forced or twisted to suit our desires. What is meant for us will come in its own time, and true greatness is not achieved through greed or cunning, but through kindness, honor, and trust in life's natural flow.